Y'all, we need to discuss Tiffany Henyard. Okay, now I've done a video in the past on the Dolton, Illinois mayor, who basically she's done so much that it's just kind of difficult to keep up with. But this matters. I am setting up the scenario so that you understand this matriarchal squalor that I'm talking about. And eventually I'm gonna get there. Stick with me. I'm going to contrast that with purposeful patriarchy. I know patriarchy is a term that is just supposed to be, we're just supposed to tear down and despise the patriarchy. But that's part of how we got here. Okay, so getting back to Tiffany Henyard, she's done so much, it's hard for us to keep up with, but while she definitely fits the description of an out of control Oratchetang, we're discussing her in this video because it's going to speak to the results of what happens when we abandon purposeful patriarchy in lieu of this cesspool of matriarchy. So y'all take a look at this.
Have to give respect. You guys want respect, y'all have to give it. I am your leader. I am the one that won by 82%. I am the one that carry you, trustee Jason House, you, and a belcher that never wins anything, over the hump. That's why you guys have your seats that you have before you. So when you get in these board meetings and you act a fool, y'all should stop. Because at the end of the day, all we've been doing, everybody is fighting since I became mayor. If y'all want to be leaders, y'all got to act like it. Y'all know y'all not leaders, y'all followers. Stop following each other, because nobody can lead nobody in your group, not one of y'all.
Tiffany Nelson Jaworski gives direction on that. However, I'm going to say this in terms of kind of all the things that have been said. First, I want to commend Trustee Norwood, Trustee Tammy Brown, Trustee Kiana
Trustee.
The floor is mine, Mayor.
Trustee.
I want to commend them for standing in here during these attacks.
Trustee.
I know the mayor does not want to hear
Trustee.
what he said. However,
this is why the means get out of order. Can you stay on track with what we're talking about with just corporate bills? If you want to say your comment, you can say your comment after it's a motion and a second on the floor, trustee. Trustee. It's a motion and second on the floor regarding the bills. Can we stay the course?
Getting towards the bills, Mayor.
Trustee, you can make your statement after we're done with the bills. Trustee.
And the budget.
Trustee.
So.
Trustee, but you want to lead though, right? This why we get nowhere. We get nowhere because you guys want it your way. Y'all don't follow no Robert rules of order. Y'all want to get out of order when y'all want to talk. But come on, I am worried about it. Don't worry about it. The rest is for to find out what y'all been up to in 1 second. Don't worry about it. But what I'm saying to you is stick to the agenda. We on corporate bills. This is why we stay here all night.
But everybody was giving acknowledgments. So we want to talk about the bills and what the board has cut out. The bills are not being paid currently. At this very moment.
I'm gonna let you out, but I'm just trying to show y'all how y'all be so disrespectful and y'all expect the respect to be respect. You out of order, trustee. Stick to the facts. The facts is on the agenda. So go to the bill.
And I will name for a state bank, which is our police vehicles, the Durangos and the Fiats for public works. That bill was approved by the board May of 2023. We received an email stating that those cars will be repossessed if we do not get any payment. That email had been communicated already. Nobody responded. So imagine my surprise, 7 months later, I get an email and I forward the email over like I do the other 15 that I've received. No response. And then come in here and say the board cut something out. I'm going over these construction, repaved all those streets. We're happy for that. Board approved that. June of 2023, they are $300,000. Just got an email 2 days ago about the police ammunition. Hasn't been paid. Overdue for 23. That hadn't even been presented to the board.
Wow.
So the board is approving what's needed. Another one, I'm getting calls about electricity, lights not being put on. Residents say the board hasn't approved it. Mead, which is the light post. For those who are not getting their lights turned on, board approved that. September 2023. Lights still not on. Mead still has not received the payment. So this circus that's being put on right now about put something back in the budget, we've seen there. It's been reported, and you know this is going to end up with another video because we're going to put the documentation out there. Everybody, we can come in here, say what we want to. At the end of the day, vendors are not being paid. Board approved it. The vendors are not being paid. So when you sit here and we talk about how we don't have the only item from the police budget specifically, and I'm saying that I understand from each one, I understand that everybody up there had to say what they were told to say, to be honest.
You do.
But I'm going to say this. No, the police department works hard. The fire department works hard. Public works hard. That's why I don't take any offense at what's being said, because I know where it's coming from. But if we're going to just talk about this in real terms, the items taken out of the departments was the overtime. And that's because the overtime is being spent in ways that it shouldn't. But if we want to talk about more officers, gladly, we put that in there. And I've just listed several, and I have more items that have been approved by the board. People still haven't received the checks.
Crazy.
Brother Moore, you prayed us in on unity. You prayed us in, and it came with the most divisive speech I heard in my life. Don't pray for me no more. If we're going to do this and we're going to be honest about it, let's be honest and be direct. But if we're going to sit here and keep doing this, because I really wasn't going to make no speeches. I was going to sit here, but it's just coming. I'm going to read the same things that I read last meeting because it was given to us again, this meeting to approve, to take off the list. This is nothing new. This is the same stuff last time. But when the mayor doesn't get away, she puts it down there and keeps trying to shove it down your throat until you have to approve it.
But none of this going back
I need to pause when it comes to order in here. You have to give respect. You guys want respect, y'all have to give. I am your leader. I am the one that won by 82%. You guys want respect, y'all have to give. I am your leader. I am the one that won by 82%. I am the one that carry you, trustee Jason House, you on a belcher that never wins anything over the hump. That's why you guys have your seats that you have before you. So when you get in these board meetings and you act a fool, y'all should stop. Because at the end of the day, all we've been doing, everybody, is fighting since I became mayor in the village of Dolton. I never thought in a million years that my team, the team that I ran with, including Allison Key for the clerk, would sit here and turn on me the way y'all did right, a week, 2 weeks into taking off. That showed me that you guys would have been planning, plotting, meeting. People already been snitching on y'all this entire time. It's sad. But
Honey, this why I'm not involved in local politics, because see, local politics is rife with Oratchetangs, and I have an aversion to Oratchetangs. They kind of they make I start tweaking when I get around them, and so this was hard to watch. So y'all forgive me if I start twitching. It's because the that was hard. That was hard. So let's go ahead and engage with that. So much was said in that clip, but you guys, this woman exhibits very narcissistic, predatory type behavior, in my opinion, right? So she seeks out the weak, and once she's determined that you are useful to her for something, it doesn't matter what it is, she'll attempt to exert power over you, dangling over your head whatever inadequacy or deficiency that you believe that you have, that she's already sniffed out. She will use it to exert power over you and to keep you controlled. This is why she still has allies. This is why she has the gentleman there that prayed the prayer, and like that guy was like, "Don't pray for me no more." And you could see that he was just sitting there with his head down. He couldn't even look up, right? He's just, these people are afraid of these types of women. The way she sat there and talked to a whole grown man, y'all, I don't advocate for things like this. I'm just making an observation and a point. But had this been 100 years ago, that man would have hauled off and bust. She wouldn't have no teeth left in her mouth. And when nobody had said anything, they'd be like, well, I mean, I'm not saying it's acceptable, nor am I saying we need to bring that back. That's not okay. Violence is never the answer. But I'm just saying, it would have been so reprehensible for a woman to speak to a man like that, that if he would have hauled off and busted in the mouth, like everybody would have been like, "Woo, it's about time." Like she need to be put down. You know what I'm saying? Like, she has allies. And the reason why she has allies is because, one, we're dealing with 3 generations of people, male and female, who were raised by women like this, right? So this is why she can do that abusive speech toward whole grown women and be men and women, or just adults. Um, this is a part of the matriarchal squalor that I'm talking about. Hence, you have the weaponization. of whole municipalities or municipal departments, such as the police, right? She weaponizes the police. Or, she'll prevent a business from getting a business license. So she's controlling building and inspections and, withholding business licenses from people. Because if you're not on her team, if you're not Team Tiffany, then she got to cut you. She has to make you pay. You guys, she feels comfortable, completely comfortable talking to adults this way. And she plays the eternal victim because she's a narcissistic Oratchetang who is drunk with power, and she's motivated by greed and the complete submission of those that she perceives as weak. Or if she finds that there is a way that she can use you to her benefit to feed her ego. The Oratchetangs are bad by themselves, but when you got a narcissistic one, that's like next level, right? That's like an Oratchetang that's nitro charged. All of this is narcissistic supply for her when she makes statements like, I'm your leader. Like, she don't even blink when she says that. There's no self-awareness, right? Whoo, have mercy. Okay, let's just move forward, right? Okay, here are just a few of the things that this mayor has done, that's just not in the best interest of the people of Dolton, right? So you have here, she's leased vehicles, and she's not making the car payments. And when I say she, meaning the office of the mayor that is responsible for these things, they're leasing vehicles, not making the payments. As it stands right now, there are about 6 police cars that might get repossessed if they haven't gotten repossessed already. Vehicles that the Public Works Department uses, those might get repossessed. That's crazy, right? This woman, she cannot give a proper accounting for what she is doing with the money that she's already spent. Right? There's no transparency when you go and you ask to see, well, can we just see what the money was spent on? Don't nobody know nothing. Don't nobody see nothing. It's there's no transparency. It's already been documented that she has spent money on trips and crab legs. Ratchetangs, they love their crab legs. Hotels, flights, the usual Ratchetang stuff. But not only that, there are still questions surrounding this Tiffany Cares Foundation, which is the charity that's named after her, that she claims she had nothing to do with. But that's just, people just love her so much, and they just love and care. They know how much she cares about the people suffering with the cancer, right? That this foundation just happens to bear her name and her likeness, but she don't have nothing to do with it. Y'all, the deceit is on 10 at this point. Now, it's already proven, right? It's already been proven by her own words and her own admission. She keeps saying that she doesn't have anything to do with this foundation, but I don't believe that that is accurate based on public testimony from her own mouth. But we also know that taxpayer money was used to fund that charity. And so you would think that all of this would be enough to make people see, like, okay, something is wrong here. And I do believe many people, they do see it. However, the abusive speech and our constant Oratchetang showing out episodes, they're just used to that. They're used to that because that's what comes along with the Black cultural matriarchy. You're looking at 3 generations of people who were raised by this form of matriarchal Black breeding. It's like it's their language, it's what they respond to. It's Black breeding under the matriarchal squalor, to where eventually it becomes normalized, or excuses are made for it because you've heard them. Well, that's just how some Black women are. They were forced. They were forced to be this way. It's not their fault. They gotta hold it down, and they've been holding it down, and it's a lot. Because they do it, they don't want to do it, they don't want to be this way, but they have no choice. No, these women do it because they've been bred to be this way. These type of women, they reject purposeful patriarchy. They celebrate all things feminine. They bask in their rebellion. They pursue these types of power dynamics because they're dysfunctional. Their hearts are darkened, and all they care about are themselves. They're drunk with power. They are the center of the universe. Notice when you hear any of them talk, every time they talk, they have the same thing in common. They are the center of their world. You got to get on board with them and let them steer the ship, or else they will throw you overboard, stand there with the life vest in their hand, and then dangle it over the edge and say, "You wish you had one of these here, right here, don't you? Don't you wish you had one of these?" It's just evil. It is so evil. This is why she has so many men wrapped around her little Crypt Keeper, Lil Wayne looking pinky finger, right? Because if you don't bow down to her, she will weaponize her position and influence against you. She's pitting brother against brother, sister, neighbor against neighbor. It's a very calculated way that they move. And sadly, you have the naive and the impressionable ones. They try really hard to give the benefit of the doubt, to stand in solidarity with these women without realizing that standing with her, it's not going to get you anywhere. In the beginning, it might feel like you're getting something out of it, but in the end, it's not going to get you anywhere. This is why I've been trying to tell my audience that you cannot vote for people or make decisions based on vanity metrics such as gender and ethnicity. It's a superficial reason to just hand over power to a person just on that basis alone. This woman, like most of the women who hold matriarchy power, they are narcissists with sociopathic tendencies. And when you don't bow down to what a narcissist wants, all they know how to do is retaliate. They show out. They have these temper tantrums because they live in a perpetual state of arrested development. Somewhere along the line, their brain stopped developing either because of childhood trauma or neglect or being overly spoiled. It depends. It's one extreme or the other. But these people, they act like they are so confident, but they are incredibly insecure. That's why everything that they do has this certain grandiose bravado to it, because they demand worship. This is why her picture's on everything. Her name, her picture, her likeness, it is splattered all over that city. Because as long as you are Team Tiffany, then you don't have anything to worry about. But the moment they sense these narcissistic Oratchetangs, when they sense that you are against them or that you might be second guessing something that they might be doing, all hell breaks loose. Here come the insults. Here comes the smear campaign. They will go and love bomb their new victims, making sure that the new victims believe that you are the problem. It's very sad to watch. I've actually experienced this, but it is very sad that an entire city has been love bombed and that there's this entire community that's now caught in the grips of this matriarchal tyrant who, regardless of how bad it looks, she won't stop because she's going to go down with the ship and then blame her demise and the city's demise on everyone else except herself. I know these types oh too well. It's very scary because these types are dangerous. But here's what I'd like to say specifically about matriarchal leadership in general. We can move this away from both Tiffany and Monique. Matriarchal leadership, by and large, it can be very harmful to a community because it's out of order. And I know that's a strong statement, but look around you. Just look around you. These are just some examples of female leadership where it's gone south. And yes, there are some examples where it hasn't gone south. But in those situations and circumstances, what I have noticed where it hasn't gone south, I've noticed that those women those women were raised under purposeful patriarchy, or they have some sort of semblance of the necessity of a purposeful patriarchy in their own lives. Right. So these women, the ones where they're like, okay, like, you've got governors of states that are female, right? But they don't have these kinds of problems because they understand purposeful patriarchy. They have it in their own lives. And so they have proper accountability. And that's what's needed to keep it from going left. But in general, having men under like a heavy female leadership, that's just a form of judgment, and it can spell disaster if it is allowed to run amok. Just left unchecked, it's a disaster. Exhibit A, all you got to do is look at the black bread black community. Look at all of these sex scandals in all of these liberal cities that are involving women. And here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying that this type of stuff doesn't happen under male leadership, because it does. It happens all the time. But what you have to understand is that men can separate their emotions from the physical act of intercourse. I'm going somewhere with this. The women in all of these cities where there's some sort of sexual impropriety or just an abuse of power, where there's this element of sexual impropriety involved, the women get into their feelings, which is normal. We're women. And then they start getting sloppy because now they're fully vested. They're all in, right? Just look at what happened here in Atlanta with Natalie Hall, Fulton County Commissioner. You can even look at Fonnie Willis. Look at their behavior. They got into their feelings. They got into their emotions. And in Natalie Hall's case, she was all in. And so when her chief of staff, the man, when he tried to end the sexual relationship, because honestly, that's probably all he was in it for anyway. He was like, okay, this is just what we doing. She slips into stalker mode because she's all in. And her age, she probably thought that this was gonna be her forever boo thing. So, she's looking at this situation one way, and he's like, listen, it is what it is. Like, we do what we do, but that's all it is ever gonna be. And to her, this is she was calculating, and she was very intentional of how he even got that job. She sought him out to hire him specifically. The whole idea was, oh, that's the one I want right there. Oh, and he gonna make me love him. Watch. And it didn't work out that way. When you give these type of women some power, and then look at how it turns out. Right? Natalie Hall, she couldn't even leave the courtroom without slapping a reporter's microphone away because she was so angry. She was so angry and just in her feelings that a complete lack of self-control and professional decorum, it just overtook her because the Oratchetangs energy, it just had her consumed with power and control. And she realized that she was losing it, and it was just too much for her to take. She was like, yeah, at this point, I done hit my breaking point. And she lost it. Forget the fact that there are cameras here. I'm a Fulton County commissioner. I know I've just cost the city a judgment over $900,000. Let me just leave this courtroom with my dignity intact, say no comment, and get my tail in the car. She couldn't do that. They got to show out. They got to show out. Listen, ladies, these emotions are God-given. They were given to us, and we are supposed to have them. Like, I'm a very passionate person. If there is something I am passionate about, I'm full body engaged. Like, when I do my shows, I am communicating. I am looking at y'all like y'all are like, we're just right here having a one-on-one conversation. And I believe I communicate that way because it's the passion that flows from me. I just want you to understand what I'm talking about. These emotions, God gave us these emotions. However, we're supposed to have them, but we're supposed to regulate these emotions, right? Like, we're supposed to regulate the emotions and function in our proper roles. So when we stay in our lane and we operate in our proper God-given authority and order, right? Because women have some authority, but it's regulated. We expose ourselves to these types of problems when we're not functioning in our God-given order. These types of problems can be minimized, though, if proper order is maintained, right? So, like, it's bad enough that we live in a sinful world. Like, that's just obvious. That is not something that we can change or control. It's a byproduct of the fall. The world is depraved enough. We don't need to add insult to injury by exasperating these sin issues by contributing to the rebellion of the natural created order. What do I mean by that? Like, I already know that I had the propensity to be rebellious and to rule over my husband, just like Big Mama Eve, who came before me, right? Genesis spells it out that her desire would be to rule over him, right? We already know it's innate for us to be that way. So because we are aware of this, when there's a situation, I'm going to give y'all an example. For example, if it involves my boys, if my husband is around and he has already laid down the expectation, or he is already heavily engaged with enacting the discipline, I need to step aside and let him handle it. Like, you can't have two chiefs. You can't have two heads. Everything doesn't always need my input, especially if he's already said, I took care of it. Or if he's like, I got it. That's my signal to move on and go on about my business. It's real simple. Ladies have to learn we got to check ourselves, because if you don't check yourself, you gon' check yourself so you don't have to get checked, right? Because what happens is when he got to check you, now your feelings are hurt. You feel some sort of kind of way. So now you got an attitude. So now you're going to clap back because now you don't appreciate having had to been checked. But if you had just regulated yourself and checked yourself, he wouldn't have to check you, and then there'd be peace in the home. It's very simple. Chaos ensues when things are imbalanced. When you see single mother homes, there is a propensity to be too much imbalance. You either get out of control males, right? Or you get the beta male simps because they were raised by their mama and there was no man to level out and to temper that male female imbalance.